Inevitably, Frank Lampard got sacked. I couldn't tell you when. Everton reported on the matter long after the media had gotten hold. And with a managerial sacking comes plenty of rumour and speculation surrounding who will be the successor. Today, I'll be discussing a potential candidate that I want to see as Everton manager. I want to preface this by saying my point of view is stemmed from the fact that I'm completely focused on future-proofing the club. A manager that, given time and funds, can ply his trade. A man that possesses a solid understanding of football, so sound that even if we go down, he's equipped with a skill set that holds up and can enable us to rebound right back into the Premier League. That's why managers like Sean Dyche I'm not particularly fond of, because even if we hire him based off us staying up, only for us to go down, well, then the plan's flawed and the state of affairs continue further. This is Domenico Tedesco. Tedesco is a 37-year-old manager who has done a fair bit in the managerial world. Tedesco's first bit of business was in the German second division, rescuing a club I'm not even going to pronounce. He inherited the club at 20th position, but managed to steer them clear with 13 points from his first 5 games in charge, and they would ultimately avoid relegation, finishing 14th. He heads to Schalke and leads them to second in the Bundesliga after they ended 10th the season prior. He headed to Spartak Moscow and led them to second in his first full season in charge. He left that job on his own terms, and then he heads to Leipzig and led them from 11th in the month of December to 4th in the league by season's end. They won the domestic cup in his tenure as well, and he also got them to the Europa League semis. Tedesco's undoing at Leipzig was brought together via a string of poor defeats and a failure in getting the players he desired to fit his system of play and team needs. A problem we know at Everton is all too apparent. But what's not to like? He's a young manager, a manager who understands the modern game, a manager known for being a high achiever in coaching exams, a manager who has a fascination for the game and tactically adopts the 3-4-1-2 formation as a main preference. We know, given the position we're currently in, the time of season, given the circumstances, we lack skill and time in bringing in acquisitions. But Tedesco's mindset is blatantly positive for this exact scenario. He said in an interview, "My idea of football is that you have to adapt to the kind of players that you have." Further, this interview captures the collaborative, player-centric coaching Tedesco possesses. He utilises the use of a number 8 as a model. He says, "I ask the number 8, what's the problem? Coach, the distance is too long. And now we are in a discussion. Now I can say, all right, then position yourself a bit wider." Then he tries that twice and says, "Coach, that makes no sense." You get the gist. And that's how we try to develop an idea together. That's important because if the player says yes in training, it has to be a yes in the match as well. Further on in the interview, he says this, "I always ask, do you feel comfortable? Are you able to execute it? If we don't execute it properly, I'll ask the next day, why didn't it work?" And that's how we evolve. This is exactly what is so attractive about his managerial style. Frank was by no means a tactician, but even in the basic Lampard system, players seemed out of their depth, scared to bite off a pass. Hesitancy was a large thing. So with this in mind, a pragmatic coach like Tedesco can help us play a stronger brand of football by understanding what the players feel most comfortable doing, obviously within Tedesco's system. And we've constantly gone on and on about Lamps not being able to make any form of adjustment game by game. But with Tedesco, it feels more dynamic in terms of realizing a player feels unsuitable doing something. So how are we going to evolve from that? For a team that is infected with mistakes constantly, a manager like Tedesco means the evolution this underperforming team needs can be accomplished with a manager driven on evolution of his players. For a young manager with still a lot to learn, the obsession of wanting to evolve is a very good thing for a manager of his experience. Probably why he's been so successful at such a young age in managerial terms. Now, He's drastically improved table positions with the teams he's managed. And whilst it's no Premier League, a large part of a managerial appointment is the numbers game. And statistically, in all senior men's teams he's managed, he's led them to over 1.5 points per match, 1.8 with the side he inherited as relegation fodder. Yet again, whilst this was the second division in Germany, we do a simple calculation. If he hypothetically turned things around drastically in the same fashion, we gather 32 points. If we go at his worst mark, 1.57, which comes from the largest sample in a tenure in his career, that nets you 28 points, which yet again, given the state of the bottom half, would give you plenty of breathing space from relegation. Yes, we've got Liverpool and Arsenal next up. Yes, I know our upcoming run is by no means easy, but we've seen what a manager like Emery does to the likes of Villa. Tedesco isn't no Emery and Everton are no Villa, but we've seen what a manager with life, a passion for the game, an analytical perspective, and a want to learn and grow can do for a football club and the players that wear the shirt. Alan Myers sums things up well here. Most players love to be challenged. They want direction. They want to be tested and pushed. They respond to that in my experience. From the knowledge I possess of Tedesco, his approach seems to promote exactly that. In Tedesco's pursuit of evolution, he is challenging the players to adapt, test things that work, test things that don't work, and formulate tactics from that. It seems well informed and logical. If the words of Myers is anything to go by, it's that the talent of players will be maximised with this in mind. Underperformance has been another reason for the fans' hatred to the team's on-field performances, and even if that occurred in a match under Tedesco, we wouldn't see a carbon copy of the same thing the next game week. Do I find it alarming this board could be there if Tedesco was to be hired? Of course. As mentioned, Tedesco was unhappy with the acquisitions that were made in his Leipzig tenure, because logistically they didn't align with his vision, and his sacking was reflective of a bit of disconnect. Things Everton's board and ownership are prone to doing. However, I'm sick of the boring, uninspiring rumours that yet again continue to flutter in media circles. I don't want Bielsa, I don't want Dyche. Give me someone whose game style I'm unexposed to, because simply put, that's what I and a lot of Evertonians are crying out for. Refreshment. And boy, for an Evertonian, Tedesco's managerial approach sure is refreshing. Who do you want as manager? Give me your thoughts. We'll see you soon.